This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's July 14th, 2025. On this day in 1985, the original USFL played its last game. That summer league for pro football only lasted 2 years in that iteration. It was one of several attempts to have an NFL alternative. Usually organizers of those leagues had some degree of big talk about being as good as, but in one way or another different than, the big established league. But it's always been hard to make the money work, and harder still to get fans to take alternate leagues seriously. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. In sports, I think we all know that where you play can make a really big difference. As hard as they tried, a spot on an alternate pro football league, even on the team winning the championship of that league, was never going to draw the same attention or respect as playing the same position in even a mid-level NFL team. And if your dream as a promising youth athlete is getting onto an NFL roster, there's a certain path you kind of have to take. Play Division I college football. And to make that happen, it really helps to be on the kind of high school team that gets plenty of attention from recruiters. Now, there's nothing stopping families from deciding to prioritize that kind of thing to the point of either moving into a certain public school district or choosing a particular private school with a great athletic program. But furthering the goals of individual star players is not the main priority of the interscholastic sports system as a whole. The organization that oversees most school sports in Tennessee, called the TSSAA, has some rules that, honestly, attempt to center the focus on other things. For one thing, given that these are high school sports we're talking about, there's a strong layer of concern in those rules for respecting the fact that, as great as sports can be, the point of high school is to get an education. And to some extent, the rules are designed to make sure that academics don't suffer or take a back seat to furthering someone's athletic success, or the team's success for that matter. So to play, you got to be a student taking a full slate of classes. And from the start of 9th grade, a student has 4 years of high school eligibility. No flunking a kid to keep him on the team a 5th year. The TSSAA also isn't really interested in seeing individual schools develop into such powerhouse programs that nobody else can compete. And the rules surrounding that priority can kind of complicate things a little for families trying to maximize a kid's chances of making it big. Not that anyone wants to prevent that from happening. It's just that when push comes to shove, the rules will always support the larger group over the one guy. Well, one of those rules changed this year, thanks to some pretty intense pressure from a particular state legislator. And guess what? That lawmaker's son is now one of the first athletes to take advantage of that rule change and transfer to a really successful football team. We're going to get into that in a minute. But first, let's back up in time to the 90s. 30, 40 years ago, one private school in Tennessee had a football team that was just head and shoulders above everyone else. That was a big part of the school's reputation at the time. And if you were around Middle Tennessee back then, you probably don't even need me to clarify that I'm talking about Brentwood Academy. They made it to the state championship game almost every year, and they took home a lot of those trophies, too. They were also recruiting players in violation of TSSAA rules. See, it's one thing for a family to seek out a strong team and have that be the reason it chooses a school, in hopes that if their kid goes there, they'll make the team and do well. But high school coaches in Tennessee can only recruit players from among the students already enrolled at their school. That's meant to tamp down on the chance of one school just utterly dominating. It also keeps competition to get onto that team a little more fair for the students already at the school. The recruitment ban means a kid trying out for her school's basketball team isn't walking into a situation where the roster is already half full of next-level talents the coach brought in from somewhere else. But again, back in the 90s, it became clear that Brentwood Academy was violating the ban on recruiting players. The TSSAA issued sanctions, and the school sued. Not to try and say that it wasn't breaking the rule, but to question whether the TSSAA really had the authority to stop them from doing what they wanted. That case took more than a decade to sort out. It became national news. There were think pieces in big publications and at least one academic paper talking about its implications for school sports in general, and even about the possibility that it could have ripple effects for the NCAA. You see, the case went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court twice. Once to have the court decide whether the TSSAA, as a private institution carrying out a role for the State Board of Education, is considered an arm of the state. The court said that yes, in a lot of ways, it is. Then, given that first decision, the Supreme Court was asked a few years later to decide if an arm of the state had violated Brentwood Academy's First Amendment rights by squashing the coach's ability to reach out and speak to players not yet enrolled there. That ruling said that no, and I quote, "The anti-recruiting rule strikes nowhere near the heart of the First Amendment." To sum it up, the justices said that since schools aren't required to be part of the TSSAA, Brentwood Academy could just leave the organization if it didn't like the rules. Well, late last year, leaving the TSSAA is exactly what State Representative Scott Sapicki suggested schools ought to do. This time around, the focus is on the other side of the equation in those situations where a family sends their kid to a school to play on its great team. And that's the longstanding rule that limited transfers. Basically, if a family moved, nothing would get in the way of the kids getting into sports right away at their new school. But the TSSAA didn't want a situation where kids were switching schools in the middle of high school just to get on a better team. So transferring just for the sake of transferring meant a 1-year loss of eligibility to play sports. For basically 3 years, a handful of lawmakers were in talks with the TSSAA about changing the regulations to create a little more flexibility. Then back in December, Representative Sapicki seems to have lost his patience with those talks. He filed a bill that would have made it illegal for a public school in Tennessee to pay dues to a sports organization unless that organization allowed kids to transfer schools once without affecting their eligibility to play. In other words, if TSSAA didn't change its rules, most of its member schools would have to bail from the league altogether. The bill made it almost all the way through the legislature this spring. The only reason it didn't pass is because the TSSAA changed its rules to allow a one-time transfer. And while the bill never mentioned the TSSAA by name, as soon as that rule was changed, the lawmakers just sort of stopped action on the bill. Scott Sapicki has a lot of interest in sports. He went to the University of Wisconsin on an athletic scholarship and was an All-American for both football and baseball. He spent some time playing pro baseball in both the U.S. and Venezuela, and he signed to be a punter with the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's no surprise that he takes an interest as a legislator in how the state handles sports. But the fixation on the matter of transfers did seem to come into sharp focus last week when it was confirmed that his son is transferring from one private school with a really good football team to another with a pretty great one, just in time for his senior year. And look, the person who is a public official in a position that bears scrutiny is the father, not the son. So I'm not going to fully identify a minor in this conversation. But I will say that Scott Sapicki's son is a very skilled offensive lineman, one of the best in the state. Folks say he has a real potential to play for a Division I team. He's kept a pretty aggressive schedule of attending recruiting camps, and he already has scholarship offers from a few schools. But none of them are big names. This is going to be his senior year, the last chance to really catch the eye of a major program. And the school he's going to has a track record of sending its best players on to big university teams. Now, he's transferring to a boarding school, and the TSSAA already had some limited exceptions allowing transfers to boarding schools. So there's a slight possibility that this young man didn't need the new transfer rule in order to switch. But he probably did. Now, personally, I wish any talented kid all the luck in the world at finding a college or university that embraces their talent and rewards them for it. Every year, there are a lot of strong athletes around the state who hustle hard to be their best and to be seen doing their best by recruiters. Full disclosure, I've been watching one of my nephews go through this process, and it can be intense, even without switching schools. But again, as I said a few minutes ago, the priority for the TSSAA isn't about maximizing the ability of star players to game the system. It's about maintaining a level playing field and about making sure there's a competitive league for all school athletes to enjoy, even the ones who'll never play ball after they get their diploma. In just a few minutes, an excerpt from the latest episode of Music Citizens, in which our own Justin Barney gets locked out of a show. That's coming up after the newscast.
We know that local government isn't the only part of your life.
Like the mayor, I know that city government isn't the only thing you're concerned with.
We are still struggling to find affordable housing.
Particularly with this bus stop.
That's one of the unique challenges with my business.
I'm WPLN's Metro reporter Cynthia Abrams. I'm working to break down topics like transit, housing, and local government to make sure that when you are thinking about Metro, you're getting the full story. Follow my latest stories at WPLN.org.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. A search and rescue team from Tennessee went to Texas this weekend to assist with flood recovery efforts. The deployment of Tennessee Task Force 2 was requested by Texas officials. The team will operate as an urban search and rescue team, helping to locate victims, provide medical assistance to survivors, assist with cleanup efforts, and provide support to local organizations. The task force is made up of members of various Middle Tennessee fire departments, plus individuals from NDOT and Williamson County Emergency Management. The deployment is expected to last up to 2 weeks. New contenders for some of Middle Tennessee's congressional seats have announced their candidacy. Former Congressman Van Hillary launched his bid last week to return to Congress in Tennessee's 6th congressional district. Hillary, a Republican, represented the 4th district until 2002 when he lost the race for governor. He's vying for the seat currently held by John Rose, who will be running for governor in 2026. The Tennessee Lookout reports that Hillary told supporters he's running to, quote, ensure that President Trump has backup. In Tennessee's 5th congressional district, there's also a new candidate, Metro Council member Mike Cortez. Cortez, a Democrat, filed his statement of candidacy last week in an effort to unseat Andy Ogles. Ogles has been under scrutiny over his personal and campaign finance filings. Ogles won re-election to the seat last year after defeating a different Metro Council member in the primary, Republican Courtney Johnston. And there's also another race shaping up in Tennessee's 7th congressional district, as Representative Mark Green is set to step down in less than a week. A special election will take place soon after, with various state representatives vying for the seat. Work is underway on a gas pipeline through Dickson County that was challenged by environmentalists. Last year, a federal appeals court put a pause on the project, but the Tennessean reports that decision was reversed earlier this year. The Tennessee Valley Authority is building the Cumberland gas pipeline to deliver fuel to a gas-powered electric plant it intends to build in neighboring Cheatham County. The conservation groups Sierra Club and Appalachian Voices say the pipeline could damage numerous wetlands. They're still pursuing a legal challenge in the Washington, D.C. Court of Appeals. Tennessee will soon offer incentives to landowners who opt to protect their acreage from further development. The Tennessean reports that since 2017, the state has lost more than 400,000 acres of farmland, and that number is only expected to grow amid construction of new homes and businesses. The incentive program is part of a new law, the Farmland Preservation Act. It's intended to encourage landowners and farmers to preserve land through conservation easements. These are voluntary legal documents that permanently limit changes to the land. While any landowner can enter into one, legal fees and other associated costs can be a barrier. Now the new program, which will be administered by the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, will offer grants to offset those costs. Nashville is offering free trees for residents to plant this fall. The city's Root Nashville campaign is accepting orders this summer for people's homes, businesses, and other community sites. WPLN's Caroline Eggers says trees are an effective way to reduce heat.
Think about walking down your neighborhood street, how you feel when you're under trees, and then when there's a gap and you're blasted by direct sunlight. The Root Nashville campaign allows people to point out those gaps in leafy coverage. Imagine sidewalks, parking lots, and other walking areas fully shaded by trees. That transformation is possible. In cities, research shows one of the most effective ways to reduce heat is planting trees. And that's critical as Tennessee summers are getting hotter and heat waves are getting longer as the world continues to burn fossil fuels and cut down forests. Today, the climate-fueled weather that causes the most human death is heat. But Nashville also has risk from wind and tornadoes. That's why the campaign offers 7 native species to select from that are sturdy against storms. Residents can order trees for the next planting season until August 31st. Caroline Eggers, WPLN News.
A small community on the Cheatham-Robertson County line is getting a new freestanding emergency room without having to wait for the state to sign off. HCA TriStar is building the Pleasant View ER under a new state rule change. It says hospitals can open satellite emergency departments without having to get a new certificate of need, as long as the new location is within 10 miles of its existing hospital emergency department. The Nashville Business Journal reports the new facility is connected to TriStar's Northcrest Medical Center in Springfield. Before Candace Lee became Vanderbilt's first female athletic director, she was an athlete herself. A former member of the Vanderbilt women's basketball team, she's earned undergraduate, master's, and doctorate degrees from Vanderbilt Peabody College and has been an inspirational leader in athletics and the wider Vanderbilt community since 1996. This is Nashville sat down with Lee to discuss her work. She remembered what it was like to be a student athlete and how choosing Vanderbilt was the more challenging pick of schools. She describes experiencing multiple injuries and how she overcame those obstacles and how it informs her work now as athletic director and vice chancellor for athletics and university affairs.
I very quickly got injured when I came to Vanderbilt, and it was clear to me that it was going to really be the harder way. We were also very, very good. So, any minutes that you did get, you had to fight for them. And so it was very humbling. And I think I learned so much about actually what I was capable of. And I know that I use those lessons now.
You can hear more of This Is Nashville's conversation with Candace Lee on today's episode. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Nashville has more people working in the music industry per capita than any other city in the world. Our podcast, Music Citizens, is about some of those people and the work that they do. Episode 4 shows all the work that goes on behind the scenes to make every show work. Music reporter Justin Barney went to the Pinnacle the night of a show to capture the many little and large problems that production manager Tori Butosh solves on the day of a show.
Alrighty, let's get after it.
When the tour starts and you pull up to Nashville at the Pinnacle, a whole day of snafus is going to happen, and the production manager's job is to manage snafus.
My truck driver called me first thing this morning and was like, there's water coming from the ceiling, and I was like, okay, I don't know what to tell you, I'm not there yet.
The band goes on at 9 p.m. The day starts at 9 a.m. They build in all this time for these problems to have. Very first problem of the day was me.
I'm arriving at Nashville Yards, navigating parking.
When I rolled up to the parking garage behind the Pinnacle, this guy came out to meet me, and he was like, "You can't park here." And I called Tori.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Way down to the dock. I'm good. Somebody just came up and told me that they turned you away at parking, but I sorted it. So you can come back.
And within 5 minutes, she had the problem solved. This is Tori's day. This is Tori's job. It is fixing problems like me all day.
Today we have 16 hands with local crew. And then we have, 3 audio, 1 lighting, 1 merch, 1 assistant TM, 1 TM, 1 me.
19 people just showed up to the trailer.
Chris, stagehand.
My name's Patrick, I'm a stagehand.
Corey.
Stefan. Trevor.
Shelby. Liz.
Luis.
Claudio.
My name's Robin, and I'm a stagehand, not a stage brain.
Being back there, seeing the semi, and all the people that go into making this seemingly bare bones, nothing going on show was pretty wild.
The first thing that's coming off is going to be the Schedule 40 pipe that is slid under. We're going to get a couple people on that. Don't pinch your fingies.
I mean, for me as a touring crew member, it's the most important job. That person can make or break the tour.
Michael Pollard, WNXP production coordinator and longtime touring audio engineer.
When you do run into snafus, you can go, hey, production manager, we have this issue. Let's say, for example, this is a real thing that happened, actually. We're in Austin, Texas, on tour with the Backstreet Boys. And it was, I think, like 110 degrees on stage. The front of house console was overheating. Playback is overheating.
Right.
So they get this giant, like, professional AC thing with ductwork and, like, pump it into the back of my desk so it doesn't shut down mid-show. But I didn't have to coordinate all that. I just kept doing my job, and I was like, here, it's too hot. Please fix this. And the production manager went and got it all taken care of. It was a great show.
No one knew.
Nobody knew. The audience didn't know. They had a great show. They didn't care. Everybody had fun. The artists had a great show. And that is strictly down to the production manager doing their job.
You can listen to the full episode of Music Citizens now, wherever you get your podcasts. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks so much to all of you who left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. And we'll catch back up tomorrow.